Hey y'all, Big Tim here. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Old School and Bass with Big Tim. Hey, it's the night after the Classic. I just finished watching it, and wow, congratulations to Hank Cherry. Hank's seems like a pretty good fella. Guy I've had my eye on for a little bit, mostly because you guys know I like to fish a jerk bait early in the season, and he likes to do it as well. I know we use a lot of the same stuff. He changes his hooks out on his Megabass 110s. And I guess if I was catching bigger fish in Guntersville, I'd probably change them out too. But anyway, congratulations to Hank Cherry. And hopefully you guys got a chance to see it. I did not get a chance to watch all the live coverage because I worked some really weird shifts. We had some things going on at work this week. It was kind of odd. So I didn't get an opportunity to watch live coverage for much of anything. I worked an odd shift on Friday. And I didn't work Saturday, but I didn't get to go fishing either, like I'd hoped. I ended up running some errands so that they're not hanging over my head so I can go fishing later. And then I worked Sunday as well, another kind of odd shift. So the only thing I really got to watch, I would click on every now and again and look at Bass Track, see what was going on, maybe catch a video if I could at lunchtime or something like that. And then I got to watch the weigh-in tonight, which I didn't get to watch the whole thing because we had a lot of technical difficulties. My battery was going dead on my phone. The computer wasn't getting good internet service. It was just a mess. As a matter of fact, I actually missed Hank Cherry lifting the trophy because my battery went dead. And by the time I got the wife's phone, it was pretty much over. I did get to watch a lot of the press conference from Lori's phone, though. So, again, congrats to Hank Cherry. It was pretty cool to see him win. And like I said, I was kind of disappointed on Friday, looking at some of the coverage and everything else, that he really wasn't throwing a jerkbait. You see Hank Cherry and he's got a big bag, and you're hoping it all came off of a jerkbait. I think I made mention once before that one of the favorite tournaments that I ever saw on TV was the one George Cochran won at Guntersville on a jerkbait. Now, granted, that was February. And this is a little bit later, but not much. So I was kind of disappointed not to see a lot of coverage Friday from Hank throwing a jerkbait. But, he did most of his damage on rattlebait and a jackhammer there. So, matter of fact, a lot of guys, those two baits were probably the key baits for the whole tournament. A rattlebait, whether it was a red-eye shad, the Booyah one knocker. I didn't hear any of the Yozuris, but I'm sure they were used. Any kind of rattlebait. They seem to be big players. A lot of red rattlebaits, which is kind of the typical thing at Guntersville. Throw a red rattlebait in the grass and rip it out. So that seemed to be a common denominator for a lot of people, as well as the jackhammer. If you guys still don't believe in the jackhammer, this tournament should have told you something, because, of the top 10 guys, I think most of them were probably throwing a jackhammer, maybe one or two of them sponsored by Z-Man or Evergreen. It is a fish catcher. It really is. It does a job like no other rattle or no other vibrating jig can do. It's noisier, it's flashier, and as a matter of fact, I saw on one of the websites that the Fire Crawl or Fire Red, whatever it's called, is already sold out at Tackle Warehouse. They don't expect it to be back until June, so that ought to tell you something there. I actually did see one of my friends had that Fire Crawl jackhammer and paired it up with a big bite thumper, and he had a red thumper on there. And I made comment. He may have gotten a little mad at me. I don't know. I was just kidding, but it kind of looked like a goldfish. So I was asking him if he was going fishing in a koi pond. Those big goldfish. But hope he didn't get too upset. Just having fun, just having a little fun. But you got to pay attention to that stuff. It's not necessarily the lure. Like Hank Cherry, he's finally announced that, it was a jackhammer, it was a red-eye shad, and it was Megabass 110 +1. Now, I do believe in a Megabass. And I prefer using red eye shads to any other rattle bait out there for the most part. I do have some of the old Excalibur one knockers and XR25s and XR50s. Those also are really good. But they're a little different from each other. So, there's a reason you have one versus the other. But I also have some Yurizuris, a couple of those too. Those are pretty much my rattle baits. But yeah, rattle baits and jackhammers this time of year, big players. I also like how John Cox is continuing to ride that horse of the Fritz side. He's still throwing that Fritz side. He won first tournament of the year on that sucker, and he's still throwing it. And John Cox is really not known as a crankbaiter, but he's catching a bunch of fish on it, so good for him. And I wanted to get one of those for my first trip out. Man, you can't get one in red. It's impossible. They're all sold out. I've called everywhere. Yeah, good luck with that. So if you got an opportunity to go to the Classic, there were a lot of cool things that are happening down there. One thing I'm a little miffed about, they offer these special run colors down at the Classic. And fortunately, I got a good buddy, thanks Carl, who decided to help me out a little bit and get me one of these classic colors from Reaction Innovations. They had a special smallie beaver down there. I would have liked to have gotten a big beaver too, but they didn't either make them or they were out by the time he got there. But Carl picked me up some smallies, so I'll have those this year. That's really cool. The problem that I have with it is that's the only time you can get it. They say they're not going to make them for sale anywhere else. So it's a one and done. Yeah, you fall in love with a color and it's over. Kind of stinks, but I'll be excited to have them, sure enough. So a couple other things I noticed about the Classic. I had to work today, I told you that. I didn't get off until 6. So I clicked on my phone at about 5:30 and the Classic weigh-in had already started. And that weigh-in was, counting the kayak anglers and then college anglers. And oh, I tell you what, it just goes on forever because by my clock, the thing wasn't over till 9:30. Now, I know they're an hour behind in Alabama, but even still, to have people sitting in the arena for 5 hours, 4 hours, basically. Yeah, basically 4 hours. I think that was a little much. I think Bass needs to cut it down a little bit. The weigh-ins are taking way, 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 way too long. Building up the Super 6, I don't think we need that. Just weigh them and get it done. That's what's it take to set up that stage for the Super 6, a half an hour? I know the MC needs to have a break or whatever. Well, that's where you have 2 MCs and just kind of switch them out. But I think the Classic needs to take less time, period. It shouldn't take 4 hours to do the whole thing, 5 hours, whatever. However long it actually took to weigh the top 25 tonight, probably 2 hours, I guess. And I know we got to get in. Everybody has an opportunity to thank their sponsors, and that's all well and good. I do think that needs to happen. But there's a lot of things we could do to pick up the pace. The cast, the Berkeley cast, I know they're a big sponsor. That's a lot of television. Well, it's not really television, but that's a lot of live coverage for them. What does that thing take? That thing, to set that up and bring it out, probably half an hour. That could easily be done at the expo. Let somebody cast for it, go for the $1 million prize, and video it, and just edit the video clip and make it a lot shorter. Being at the Classic like last year, it was a long, drawn-out occasion. But I remember my dad. He probably will never go back because it was just way too long. The intro music, the laps around. I think we're getting away from what we need to do. The intro music's kind of cool. The lap around to show their boats and truck and the Toyota trucks and everything else. I understand that's for sponsors and everything, but man, it takes forever. It really does. So I think we need to consider looking at ways to speed up the whole process. and still give anglers their opportunity to say what they need to say and everything else, and everybody get their fair share of FaceTime. But anyway, it's been a busy week, busy couple weeks, and it's going to continue to be a busy couple weeks. I haven't made up my mind exactly how I'm going to do things yet. I may release 2 more videos this week, one on Thursday and one on Friday, or I may just do one on Friday. It all just depends on how much I can get done. I got a lot of things going. If you can't see by my room here, it is a mess. I've got boxes everywhere. I'm trying to get things established. I'm working on some spinner baits. I got a video that I'm going to shoot showing you how to do some spinner bait tweaks. Get that all ready, because I pulled out my spinnerbait box and a lot of them are bad shape, bad skirts, or bad blades, stuff like that. So that's an episode we're probably going to air maybe next week, maybe the week after. But other than that, there's still a lot of things going on. I don't know. I can't really let you in on it yet. Friday will be the day for that for sure. So I'm definitely going to release a video Friday. I may do one Thursday too. I don't know. It just is all dependent upon how much time I have this week. Because, like I said, it's busy. It's busy at work, busy here for the house. Lori's got some things going on I'm trying to help her with. Trying to get my tackle organized. Everything else you saw on my boat, how bad it was. Well, the tackle room is just as bad. Actually, all I've got left is spinner baits. But it's just been very hectic, and will be probably for the next couple more weeks. Hopefully by April, man, it'll be smooth sailing. I'll be able to go fishing all the time. That's the hope. That's the plan. That's why I'm so busy with this stuff now, so I can get it done and it won't be hanging over my head, and I can go fishing, because man, I need to go fishing. So hopefully some of you guys have. Hopefully you're enjoying yourselves. Hopefully you're catching a bunch of big fish. Hopefully something along the way I've said has helped you catch some of those big fish, and you're enjoying what you're seeing here. So anyway, definitely tune in Friday, possibly Thursday, and we'll have some more information for you. But in the meantime, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you the next time on Old School and Bass with Big Tim.